Soarin' Over California is one of the best rides Disney has ever made. I've ridden it dozens and dozens of times. Stay tuned and I'll tell you why I think it's so great. Well, hello there. My name's Jeremy and welcome back to Freeform Disney, where I talk about all aspects of Disney, from the animated movies to the theme parks to Star Wars, Marvel, and Pixar, and the TV shows, and everything else in between. And that is why it's Freeform. And keep coming back every day for new daily content. If you're not subscribed yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Now, on to today's topic, Soarin' Over California, and why it's great. Soarin' Over California is one of my absolute favorite rides that Disney has ever made. Millions of people have ridden it. Sadly, it closed in 2016 and has only intermittently come back since. But in case you're not one of those lucky enough to have ridden it, let me explain what it is. Soarin' Over California was the flagship attraction of Disney California Adventure and opened with the park on February 8, 2001. It was part of the Condor Flats area of the park. And while the park as a whole struggled, the one part of the park which certainly wasn't struggling was Soarin' Over California. It was a massive hit. So much so that Disney opened it at Disney World 4 years later in 2005 at Epcot. Condor Flats back over at California Adventures eventually became Grizzly Peak Airfield in 2015 as they were working to make the park more cohesive. And eventually, a new version of the ride, Soarin' Over the World, replaced Soarin' Over California at Disney World and also at California Adventure in 2016. Other versions of the ride have also opened around the world. Since its closure, many thought the ride was gone permanently, including myself, never to be seen again. Not without hope, though. But hey, luckily we were wrong. Last year, Disney brought it back to California Adventure briefly to bring back crowds when Galaxy's Edge opened in Disneyland. And they actually extended how long it was going to be open because it was going to be open just for a shorter time. And it was so popular that they kept it open. And eventually it closed again and went back to Soarin' Over the World. But now, as I'm recording this, it's currently back again for the Disneyland Food and Wine Festival. Again, with the idea of driving crowds to California Adventure. And I must say, if it drives crowds, and clearly it is, clearly Disney also thinks so, that's why they extended it and brought it back again so soon, perhaps we could just keep it and not have Soarin' Over the World in California Adventure? After all, it is in California Adventure. Just saying. And for me, I love the new Soarin' Over the World. I often made the comment that Epcot felt like it should have a Soarin' Over the World instead of Soarin' Over California. And so I'm super happy to see that it finally does. But California Adventure should have Soarin' Over California, especially because it's still the best. And that's what I'm talking about today. Why is Soarin' Over California so great? First, the land it's in helps set the mood before you even get on the ride. And this, by the way, means that California Adventure's version was always superior to Disney World's, as Disney World just shoved it into a pre-existing land building and didn't have any outer area with theme for the ride. The queuing area wasn't themed for the ride, just neon lights on the side, which had nothing to do with Soarin'. The current area over at California Adventure is now Grizzly Peak Airfield, and it was present for the final year of the ride and its more recent revivals this year and last. It feels like some kind of forested, smaller airfield. It's nice, and it fits with Grizzly Peak really nicely. Love the forested feel of the land. I'm a big forest fan. But to be honest, I think Condor Flats was far better for the ride Soarin' Over California, or Soarin' in general, really. Condor Flats gave me the feel of being out in the desert on a real airfield where they might test new aircraft. And this fit so well with the ride of Soarin' Over California that it put me in the right frame of mind before I even got in the queuing line. Then you get into that queuing line, you eventually get into the building, which is this giant airplane hangar. And the ambience just kicks it up another notch. You definitely feel like you're inside an airplane hangar, and there are pennants hanging up above you that you just strain to go look at. And on the walls to your left and right, there are airplane parts on the walls, and there are pictures of famous pilots and airplanes with descriptions next to each of them. And you can spend a lot of time simply marveling at this interior, reading each of the descriptions. And I do, and I find it great. I love it. And if you somehow weren't in the right frame of mind before you went into the queue line, well, this has to be enough to get you there. Then you move through more queuing line and eventually end up in the final section, already separated out into your row. The TV near the door shows a loop of the destinations against a backdrop of clouds, as if you're in an airport ready to fly, and they're letting you know what the destinations are that are available. Of course, you get to see all of them in this case. And while watching that, I get excited about the places I'm about to see, especially because I've already been there and I can't wait to see each of them again. San Francisco, Redwood Creek, Napa Valley, Monterey Bay, Lake Tahoe, Yosemite, Palm Springs, Camarillo, Anza Borrego, San Diego, Malibu, Los Angeles, and of course, the unnamed surprise ending of Disneyland. And then comes the pre-flight boarding video, which thankfully still exists in the current versions of the ride. It proved so popular and fans wanted it kept so much that Disney didn't change that part when they moved over to Soarin' Over the World. And then Patrick Warburton comes on as our chief flight attendant. I frankly love Patrick Warburton, and I always want to see him in more shows and movies. If you're not familiar with him, he's Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove, Buzz Lightyear in the Star Command TV show, Joe in Family Guy, and Lemony Snicket's in Netflix's recent series of unfortunate events. He's got a gravitas and wry humor, which just works so well as our chief flight attendant. And I look forward to this bit each time I ride Soarin'. Heck, I'm gonna say it for you. Hello and welcome to Soarin' Over California. My name is Patrick, and I'll be your chief flight attendant today. We'll begin boarding in a few minutes, but first, I'd like to acquaint you with some important safety information. When the doors to your flight open, please take a seat and store all carry-on items in the underseat compartment. This includes cameras, purses, hats, and of course, these little beauties. Aww, so cute. Next, fasten your seatbelts, inserting them into the buckle on your right. If smaller aviators don't measure up to the height indicator on the seat, let's put the belt through the loop in the center strap before buckling. Nice work, pal. Soon you will be airborne, so if you or your little aviators have a fear of flying or of heights, you might want to wait for your party at the arrival gate. Okay, let's review. That is seats, seatbelt, carry-on items, safety strap, fear of heights, keep your hands and arms inside at all times. Anything else? Oh yeah, have a nice flight. Love that every time. And then it's time to go on in, and you can see the giant IMAX screen and the ingenious ride vehicles. So it's time to sit down, take off your shoes, and buckle your seatbelt. Wait, you don't take your shoes off? I always take my shoes off. Originally, you could just leave them on the ground in front of you. Nowadays, they've tended to want you to put them in the underseat compartment for some reason. But if you don't take your shoes off, you're missing out. You really should do it. Having them off just makes you feel more free and in the moment, in the ride, in that movie we're seeing that we're part of. And then the lights go down and it's off into the air, being suspended way up in the air in front of a giant IMAX screen the way Soarin' does is brilliant and one of the most amazing bits of Imagineering I've seen. So most of what I said already is why Soarin' is great in general, or at least over at California Adventure. But next, we get into why Soarin' Over California specifically is great. Flying down from the clouds, we reveal the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Love it. We bank to the right. And I love San Francisco, by the way. Up next comes Redwood Creek, which feels a little more laid back, and you have a lovely pine scent coming into your nose. And the redwoods as trees always amaze me, no matter how many times I see them in real life or in pictures or video. Then hot air balloons, and we get to go right up over top of one. Then off to the mighty ocean with Monterey Bay, watching the waves crash on the rocks. And then up, and over the crest to see Lake Tahoe in the winter. And then the music gets very grand and we're at Yosemite, looking at the beautiful waterfall and a hang glider off to our side. Then the hidden Mickey golf ball over at Palm Springs. And then the best smelling part of any Soarin' ride ever, Camarillo and the oranges. I can almost smell them just when talking about it now. And if I listen to the music, I certainly can. I love how that sense memory just brings that smell right back to me and puts me right back there in the middle of Soarin'. And the music in the Camarillo section plays so well into the Anza Borrego section right up next. And Anza Borrego is probably one of my favorite music sections in the entire piece. And I love the jets coming out from the right, racing across the screen. It's awe-inspiring. I love jet shows anyway. And this one works great. And as an extra bonus, it leads us a perfect transition to San Diego with the aircraft carrier. And then we get a chance to relax a little bit. We're over at Malibu on the beach and it's sunset. It's beautiful. Get a nice scent in there too. And then we're right back into it as we go to Los Angeles and we're at night and we get to see the red and white of the taillights and headlights of the cars below on the I-5. And that's not all, because we have to end at the triumphantly appearing Disneyland. And up comes Tinkerbell to give us a fireworks display to end the ride. And if you know me, I don't miss my fireworks displays at the end of the night when I'm over in Disneyland or Disney World. I love my fireworks. Always have. And then the ride comes back down and ends, as it always does, to applause, which frankly has never ceased to impress me. How many rides, shows, or movies consistently get applause like that? Theater productions not being included in this, by the way. But that's not all, because where you ride changes the ride for you. Just riding it in the same location every time, you're missing out. I truly love riding in different sections because it changes the feel of the ride and what you see. And having people's feet above you is not a bad thing in my opinion. It just changes the feel of the ride. From certain points of view, you'll see the rainbow at Yosemite, or if you're lower on the ride, for instance, you'll really feel like you can dip your toes in the Redwood Creek. And I love raising my feet to avoid the crest as we go to Lake Tahoe. And I love going ahead and having to raise my feet. Raising my feet like that just helps put me into the mood of the ride that much more. And it's not the only place to do it. We also have the hot air balloons. We have trees to go over on occasion. We have the coast. So there are a lot of chances to really get immersed into it. And while we're talking about things that are great about Soarin' Over California, the music is great. It's one of the last pieces the great composer Jerry Goldsmith worked on, and he really poured his heart into it. And parts of it send good shivers down my neck when I hear it. I've listened to that soundtrack so many times when I'm not even in the parks at all. And frankly, no other Soarin' since has a soundtrack which comes close to this one. The smells on Soarin' California are also top notch. Many of them come to mind when I hear the music. And there's also the air that flows past you while you ride, or the way the vehicle moves, which all help immerse you further and further into the ride. All of this works so well together. And that is why Soarin' Over California is great and one of my all-time favorite Disney rides. Now, you might be asking, well, Jeremy, what's your favorite destination? Well, I'm glad you asked. So I'm probably going to have to go ahead and go with Malibu, but it really depends on the day you ask me. Sometimes Redwood Creek or Camarillo might go ahead and win out. Those are probably the three that usually are battling for that top spot if I had to think about it. But again, I love all of these locations. There aren't any destinations I don't like. Heck, there aren't any destinations that I don't love. And on top of that, some of the transitions and the way the scenes fit together work so well that it's hard to pick just one single destination as my favorite. Soarin' Over California is a ride I would never miss. And it's also a ride I could go on back to back to back. And in fact, I've certainly done that. And I'd love to go do it again. I haven't gotten to catch it these 2 times it's come back recently, last year or this. And I would love to head down to California Adventure to go ride it. If you have, oh, I'm so envious right there. I'm hoping to catch you one of these next times it comes back. And hopefully, with any luck, it's going to come back for good at some point. Talking about Soarin' Over California has got me so excited to go back down and see it. What about you? Do you love Soarin' Over California? What's your favorite destination? And it's fine if it's in the new Soarin' instead. Just go ahead and let me know down in the comments below. I'm curious to see what everyone else here thinks. And as always, thanks for watching. If you liked my video, then please go ahead and do the usual, and please give it a like and share, and come back tomorrow for when I finally do my first Star Wars video, and this one will be 5 things you didn't know about the speeder chase in Attack of the Clones. And if you haven't done it yet, click that subscribe button and ring the bell. As always, have a magical day, and may the Force be with you, always.